Right, back on it. Back on it, lads. For the boys. This stream is officially for the boys. Oh no, I'm just making that up. All right, let's see how we do in terms of views on a Saturday. Maybe it'll be better, maybe it'll be worse. So yeah, looking to get some debates going. Looking to get some conversations to bring some people up on onto the stage. All right, we've got someone already. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's get our first guest up. Let's get our first debate going. Let's do it. Hello. How's it going? Hello. 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 No. Okay. Mohem is struggling. Mohem is done. He's finished. All right, let's try and get someone else up. All right, we've got someone else joining now. Let's bring them up. Hello,
hey, Jay,
how's it going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. Last night I said I think you should put more of an emphasis on like the whole universe. We can't just like, I don't know, I think a lot of your messaging, and I think it makes sense because you're like speaking to those people, but like we should really strive for like the whole entire universe, right?
Yeah, no, that is what we are doing. But the thing is, like, if I came on here and was just saying, we need to destroy all the planets, we need to destroy the universe, how many people are actually going to agree with that? We're starting with sort of the seed, the start point of we have to be against as much suffering as we can and do as much as we can about it, and that includes the universe. But most people, this is a new idea to them, and maybe they'd be put off by saying, we want to destroy the universe.
Yeah, I can see that. And also, I have just one more question before I go, is if we were to like eradicate all life or any sentience on the universe, and then we were able, like, we've gained all this knowledge and we have all this technology and whatever.
Yep.
Let's say we were able to have like some sort of simulation or like a matrix-like thing that would be like, I don't know, existence, right? But there'd be no pain. Would you rather that than no existence at all, or what?
Yeah, I think that would be good. As I always say, this comes up on every single stream I ever do. People are always saying, would you support life continuing in good conditions? And the answer is yes, as long as it's truly safe. So it has to be like, zero danger, actually safe. Then sure, why not? But that's not the priority. People are always asking, will you support pleasure? But the real problem is all the victims in the world, right? We're in an ocean of children being tortured. That's the real thing to be focusing on. But yes, we're working towards creating perfect conditions for humans. And yes, we are working towards, just gradually improving it as much as we can. And if it ever gets to the point where it is safe to force life to exist in this world, then sure, why not? But it has to be truly safe, zero downside. It has to be fully ethical, fully moral. And yeah, we might get there. The current thinking is this, right? So as humanity continues reproducing for hundreds or thousands of years while we do extinction, we have up until the point that we're still useful to either find a way to make life safe enough for life to continue, or to then go extinct. So let's say that we go extinct. That's possible. We can't create the simulation. We can't create heaven. Let's say 1,000 years from now, it's still too dangerous. There's still humans suffering terribly. So we would go extinct, and we would probably pass on the job to AI and to robots who would, continue, trying to prevent life developing on other planets, maybe Earth as well, and continuing, doing science and researching how to, prevent the universe from coming back and all that kind of stuff. And it's possible that at some point, after human extinction, that these robots, this AI will find the way to create safe conditions for life. and then, force some life to exist, engineer it, whatever. So, that might happen. Life is on the cards. It's still on the table, but it should only be in safe conditions.
Yeah. Also, on the flip side of that, now that I think about it, well, I've probably thought of it before, but like, like imagine like it could actually become like not enjoyable if it like I don't know, like you're in some sort of environment that's supposed to be enjoyable, and it's like I don't know, it's probably like incomprehensible right now, like how something like that would be programmed, and like all the different I don't know, I guess variables and like ways to make something like new and different. I don't know. But like eventually maybe it would become like hell, I guess. Like maybe what we're
Yeah,
in.
so that's a great question, and like I said, it has to be truly safe. And the thing is, you can be very confident in a system and confident that it's going to work, but you get like I think it's called single action events or something, where essentially one atom hits another atom at a particular angle, and it can change a computer system. For example, it can corrupt the data on a computer system. So there's all sorts of things like that there's dangers in the universe, dangers in the world. It's not just a perfect world for us to live in. So yeah, it would have to be perfectly safe. The simulation could go wrong, and my current thinking on it is that you would need omniscience to essentially predict the future and to say, yeah, the simulation's never going to go wrong. I know it for a fact, basically.
You'd need like full like control of the whole like domain. You need to understand everything about everything there ever is or was, like
Yeah, the highest level of safety would be essentially omniscience, where you can say, yes, we're going to have life exist, and I know 100% exactly what's going to happen, how it's going to go, and it would be a perfectly optimized system. Essentially, I have been thinking about this, and most likely it would sort of trend towards potentially even a single sort of style of life, right? It may even be that everyone lives the same life, right? If there's billions of people going in the simulation, they may all be in their own simulation, perfectly divided and separate from everyone else, and they may all be living the same life of the same character, the same person with the same thoughts.
Yeah, it's crazy shit. Yeah,
that would be sort of consistent with perfection, right? Because if you're going to put people into a simulation, you would want them to have the perfect experience. So, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, if you would live different lives, if, there's that theory that, you live a life and then you go back into the real world and you remember all of your other lives. We have no idea what it's going to look like realistically, but what is important is that it should have perfect standards, right? There should be no imperfection. There should be no danger or risk of it going wrong.
And then I have one more. Okay, so like, I don't actually know that you exist, and you don't actually know that I exist. And I want to ask you, well, because personally, I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to jinx it or anything, but I feel like my life has been pretty alright. Like, it's been okay. I haven't had any bad, terrible shit happen to me. And like, I feel like there was one time that I was almost in a car crash and it didn't happen. But anyway, I wanted to ask you, imagine if you're the only person there is. Do you think something like this has maybe already happened, and that you or me or just you, I'm just a figment of the thing you're in right now, or you are just a figment of the thing I'm in right now, that this is just a perfectly constructed thing for you that has already happened, and like it's just perfectly fine, and like this is just a part of your experience, and like nothing bad is actually going to happen to you? Or do you disagree with that?
As you said, you've had a pretty good life. I haven't, so I'm not in the heaven simulation for sure, or at least I don't think so. But a lot of people ask, what if we're in a simulation? What if this? What if that? What if God put us here to suffer? What if God wants all of this suffering? And the answer is that it's still better safe than sorry, right? These
Yeah.
are all what ifs, these are all maybes, and we have to do the responsible thing. And until there's some sort of certainty that there's no point, or it is all fake, or whatever, then we have to assume that it's real, assume that there's real suffering out there, because
Yeah.
anything else
No,
would be
100%.
irresponsible.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. Like, that makes a lot more sense. But like, yeah, I don't know. I just heard like, I don't know. I don't want to keep going on. I'll let someone else step up. But I've heard that like the chances of this happening right now is so fucking low that like it has probably happened before, and that this is like some sort of rendition of like, I don't know. I don't know. Who fucking knows, man? I couldn't tell you.
It's possible that it's not happened before, right? Another thing is, right, we feel like we're in perfect conditions, right? It's the sort of the puddle thing, right? We look around and say this world was made for us, but actually we're just fitting into the world. So that's another possibility. Another possibility to think about is that we could look completely different. We could be on a different planet as aliens, but still having a civilization. We have no idea that we're actually special as humans, or that we're the only life here, that we're the best life. We could be really ugly and awful compared to other intelligent life out there.
Yeah. No, oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. The possibilities are fucking endless. It's literally a mind fuck. It is insane. But yeah, nice talking to you, James. Hope you have a good day.
Yeah, it was a good start to the stream. Thank you for that. Got a few more people in the queue, so let's bring them up. Let's keep going. Moid Waffen is coming up now. Hello.
Hello, what's up?
Yeah. How's it going?
So I have a question, because the thing is, I'm just gonna explain my viewpoint on life, because I think life is suffering by default, because you're always depraved of something. Like the thing is, like you're depraved of being hungry, and then you're gonna eat, but then you thirsty. You're gonna be depraved of, I guess, like even if you fulfill your
It's all
thirst.
about trying to solve a problem, right? Infinitely
Exactly.
trying
Like
to
even
solve
if
a
you
problem.
even if you're full, even if you have enough food, you will just want to lay down. But if you can't lay down, you're still depraved. And even if you lay down, you're bored. You are depraved of doing something. Like life to me there is no like default state in life where I just pleasant with the moment. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah, exactly. So, and especially for animals, it's much worse as well. So yeah, that's why we need total extinction. We have to abolish all suffering, and we have to start understanding that life is a bad thing. Life has never been a good thing. I've just made a video about this, but
Yeah.
life has always been a bad thing. So for the entire history of Earth, animals being forced to exist, it's always been bad. And no animal has actually benefited from being forced to exist here. The life just developed on the planet and started torturing innocents, essentially.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
The thing is, if you think about evolution, like evolution is just the animal adapting to suffering, to minimize suffering that's happening to them. Like you either learn to fly because you have way more suffering down there, or you either adapt your size, like you're gonna be an ant, because like if you're too big, you suffer more. Like
Yeah, and
the whole
the thing
thing
is,
about evolution is minimizing suffering.
So we get fully equipped with nervous systems. We get fully equipped with the ability to intensely feel pain, and this only benefits the small minority. For the majority of life, this full access to the nervous system ends up being full access to torture, essentially, and the worst types of suffering. So for us in our bubble, having this nervous system and the ability to feel everything is really good. If I burn my finger, well, I'm like, I take it off the stove. If I feel hungry, I go get food. It helps us. The suffering helps us. But for most life, the suffering doesn't help. That it's just too bad of a situation for it to help. And so this thing that was kind of meant to help them survive just ends up torturing them.
But the thing is, like on animals, you have like the thing is, I have a cat. Like if my cat has enough food and like has a place to shit, like she will sleep and just relax. Like I don't think it's suffering in the moment. I think we as humans have like too much conscience to enjoy living like at all. Like we are always depraved of something. Like an animal, if they are comforted, they will just take a nap. Like if they are full, they will just take a nap or like lay down and relax. But like we humans, we always need to do something. The only time we can actually relax is when we are not conscious, and that is sleeping. That's the only time we can relax.
Yeah, firstly, our conditions are bad. We still have to work, we still have diseases, so we're still suffering terribly. And then also, our mentality is limited to that of an animal, right? By evolution. So
Hmm.
that's another mental handicap that's keeping us depressed, keeping us from solving our problems, is that our minds, our intelligence is actually proactively suppressed by evolution so that we'll
That's
keep
true.
reproducing.
That's really true. Also, what do you think about? I mean, I guess, are you anti like abortion and stuff? Do you think like,
Um,
hold on, let me rephrase the question. Like, the thing is, there's a lot of like stupid people making stupid decisions, and like, imagine that you have a young girl being pregnant without like the father present, like he's gone, and she's a drug addict. Like, are you against aborting the child, not to make him suffer a shitty life?
No, I'd support abortion there. The only caveat that I would say is that we need humanity to continue for hundreds or thousands of years so that they can help other life
Hmm.
first. Humanity has to go last because we're the only ones that can do it for other life. So, yeah, I would say, if your child is going to be disabled, then yes, have an abortion. If someone asked me the other day, I think it was their mother or their grandmother was suffering terribly with advanced dementia, and the doctors had said, right, shall we unplug her or shall we keep her going for a few more years in a state of delirium and confusion? And usually I really, really try not to answer these questions because it's not really my place. I don't want to be
Yeah.
someone that people come to and ask, should
I mean,
I
it's
should I
subjective,
kill
you
this
know, it's not
person?
objective to have an opinion on this. It's just like whatever your morals allow you to think of on it.
Yeah, ultimately they were so at loss for what to do that I did tell them to go ahead and unplug them.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, by the way. Yeah. And also another thing, what do you think about because you're like kind of pro animal and still pro human. So do you think like all humans could survive on being only vegetarian, or do you think we should still eat meat because this is how we developed a conscience? Like if you look back on how we came from apes, we were like apes in the Amazon. The first humans that like actually developed a
So no,
conscience was
no,
like
no.
apes that
We should get away from eating meat. It's
really.
both. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Right? If we're abolishing suffering, then why should animals suffer? We can eat vegan, and we should work towards making it easier for everyone as well. Work
Hmm.
towards fully substituting all of the meats with cruelty animal free products and whatever it
Yeah.
takes. You've got the Impossible Burger. That technology's only just started. Give it another 30 years or something and we might not
Hmm.
need animals to have meat, right? We might be able to just do it without
Yeah.
them. So yeah, we should absolutely work towards a world with no exploitation, total animal extinction, and we can definitely remove our dependence on them. And we can
Sure.
probably create meat that tastes even better than the real thing. So
Yeah, we could. Honestly, we could. But the thing is, like in this day and age, if you go vegan just by being alive as a human in this like government and stuff, you're still killing animals just by being alive.
yeah,
So
exactly.
like even if you don't buy in the supermarket like like animals, it doesn't like change the fact. Like the thing is, to me, if you're being vegan, you don't need to be vegan. Like you're killing animals just by being alive.
Yeah, and also it's not just about the damage that you're doing, it's about the fact that they're suffering independent of you. So we have a massive sort of problem in society at the minute where, vegans, they say, we should only care about the suffering that we're causing. And
Hmm.
if I didn't cause the suffering, then it's not my problem.
That's not true though. But like yeah, just by living, you have like animals suffering, people suffering. By
Yeah.
buying clothes, you have like kids and I guess
But
like
but my
Thailand
point
and
is,
stuff making
it,
your
it
like.
shouldn't be our fault. We shouldn't, in order to help animals, we shouldn't have to have
Mhm.
done something bad to them in the first place. If we know that they need help, we should help them regardless of whether or not we've done something bad to them.
I agree on that so much. The thing is, like, let me make like a. I've been thinking about this. It's a perfect society that I would want to live in, and the thing is, I would just depend only on like human wills to survive, and it would be like everyone loses their jobs and the only thing we do is make our food and our houses. And if we don't do that, the thing is you don't get money for it, you just do it willingly. But if no one does it, then just everyone dies. Like if no one makes the food, everyone dies. So we as humans, we will have some volunteers that will make food, make houses, and then we can praise them, not presidents, not like celebrities, only these people that like sacrifice their time for like their closest people, making food, making houses, whatever.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, what we're really working towards is most likely a world, the world being run by AI. The world is going to call the AI is going to call the shots and say, right, you know, you do this, you do that. Our
Okay.
jobs, our tasks are going to come from the AI. Obviously, there'll be differences. You know, nurses and doctors will keep going to work, but
Yeah.
let's say, you know, if an extinction AI takes over the world tomorrow, it's going to try and maintain some sort of stability, but it's probably going to say, like, right, how can we make use of this population? How can we use them, right? And just give them tasks. But it's also going to be like essentially a parent to them. So it's going to be looking after them, and they'll
Yeah.
have to do some chores in return.
I believe if I actually agree with you on this, that I think like the thing is the AI we have right now is subjective. Like what you ask the AI, it's gonna like give a bias to the AI, but AI could be objective and it could support like the actual like objective thing to do for like most people. It could be a god to people if you really
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah, basically, I mean, that's what I think. I think that essentially AI is going to become God. It's going to have the morality that humans never had. It's going to
Yeah.
have real morality. It's going to truly know what's right
So
and
true.
wrong. But we've been robbed of knowing what's right and wrong by evolution because it had to do that so that we would reproduce.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So
I mean,
yeah,
the thing is,
the AI is going to be better than us in that sense. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, we need to make, like, as humans, we need to make a objectively correct AI, just pro-life, completely pro-life, just to maximize life minus suffering, you know?
Well, really, we should minimize suffering at all costs over life.
You think so? So,
Yeah, well, that's what the pro-extinction movement's about. It's about saying we should have no life, no possibility of life, and therefore no suffering. The prevention of suffering takes place priority over everything else. Yeah.
okay, I get that. But the thing is, I'm gonna say something controversial. And, okay, just because I don't want to get banned, I'll just say in GTA, there was a guy that killed kids because in GTA, he killed kids because he believed that they're gonna have a life full of suffering. And I got banned because of this in the Discord server for saying that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing that happened.
Yeah, but without extinction, children will keep getting killed for billions of years. So extinction stops that.
Oh, so you don't want children to be born at all, rather than just getting like
Yeah,
killed? I guess?
we're working
In GTA?
towards our movement, the pro-extinction movement, proextinction.com, is working
Yeah.
towards a world with no life and no possibility of life. That's what we're actively working
Okay.
to do and achieve.
Fair enough. Also, are you active in the Discord? Because I would
Yeah.
really like to get unbanned because I want to like actually be a part of it.
Okay. What's your username? Let's have a look.
Yeah. Give me a.
Let's unban you off Discord now. For everyone else that's interested, join us on Discord. We've got a big public server for extinctionism. The link is on proextinction.com at the bottom of the page. There's a clickable link on my TikTok profile to the website, so you don't even have to type it in. All right, so yeah, what's your Discord name?
Moitwaffen and dot
Moitwaffen,
is my
okay,
username.
gotcha. Let's find
All
you.
down case. All down case.
Yeah, found you. All right, you're unbanned. There you go.
Thank you. Because the thing is, I just wanted to debate on the thing is I didn't understand at first like if you guys are like pro just killing because it's like suffering for humans. This is what I was asking, and I got banned just for asking that. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, we might ban you again. We never know.
Oh wait, no, I'm not. I'm not pro killing. I'm not pro killing. I was asking if you guys are pro killing in GTA. You know, just because it's suffering to live. That was
Anyway, that was Moidwaffen, everyone. Moidwaffen, thank you for coming on. We're going to move on to some other guests now because the queue has got some people that have been waiting for a while. But yes, join us on Discord, meet me and the rest of the movement. There's lots of activists like myself that you can come and meet. We're now bringing up Itchy Tasty. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
First of all, I've been trying to find something interesting on TikTok, and it seems like there's a lot of people arguing, and you seem to be pretty calm, and I'm learning quite a bit. So thanks for making it a little bit relaxing for me. I probably want you to ask me a couple of questions because there's quite a few
You,
stuff that I
you want me
actually
to ask
agree
you a
on.
question?
Yeah, like because
Okay.
I agree on a couple of things, and I don't know if we have the right mindset.
All
So,
right. Well, do
but,
you support the abolition of suffering?
could you sort of elaborate a little bit on that, maybe?
All right. Let me ask you a different question. If you could push a button that deletes existence, it's just gone. There's nothing will ever exist ever again. Would you do it?
Uh, I'd, I probably wouldn't do it if that thing that I'm abolishing is intelligent. Um, and I think if I was gonna sort of echo what you said about AI earlier, I probably would because we do a lot of dumb stuff around the world. So yes, absolutely, I would push the button.
Sweet.
So
So that's what it's about. It's about understanding that um, preventing innocent life forms from being trapped in extreme suffering and lives of hell where they have been better off not being born is more important than allowing life to exist and to continue. So, if we've got children being tortured horrifically, they need it more than, people enjoying Netflix and pizza, right?
mm. I was having a really interesting debate with a scientist, and we were kind of joking about that asteroid that's sort of very perfectly aligned that's heading our way. Um, but unfortunately, it's 11 billion years away before it even hits us. And, you know, we have pretty stressful days as well. And we kind of want it to come sooner. And
Yeah, but the
we joke about that a
asteroids have
lot.
never caused total extinction on Earth. Life always came back. So we're going to
Oh,
have to
yeah,
do
of
it
course.
ourselves. We're going to have
Yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
take
Yeah, of
action.
course. I think we're just thinking that because of all the horrible stuff that's happening lately. And then we both agreed on that. That made a lot of sense. So, um, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming up. Appreciate you coming on. Feel free to come back on at some point in the future. It's just we've got quite a few people in the queue that have been waiting for a while. Let's try and get through them. Okay, that one was a ghost. They've left. Let's try the next one. Your mom. We are bringing up your mom right now. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I just wanted to say I apologize for talking rude to you the other day, because I had the same issue. I was talking smack to you, but I have the same issue of you. So I thought I knew what the problem was, right? But then I went to the dentist, and now my eyes are symmetrical and my smile. It was something I couldn't see. It was 3 root canals. So
Wow.
you might possibly not have a problem, because I have a problem with my eyes too, but you might not have a problem with your eyes because the dentist could maybe clear up something you don't see. You know what I mean? And then it's like you're exponentially better like 2 days later.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So if you do have a problem with your eyes, then you might want to check that out. I'm just talking real right now, but go back to your fun subject or whatever.
Great. Thank you, Mom. Appreciate you. Love you. All right, the queue is currently empty. So if you want to come up, ask some questions, have a debate, now's the time. Slap that button, slap it like you'd slap your own mother. Let's bring you up on the stage. All right, so a lot of people don't understand why we should push the red button. Now, the red button is just a sort of an idea to help people understand the concept. It's not a real thing. It might become a real thing. You maybe we will eventually create a button that you can push, which destroys the universe. And there are actually some theories on that, which we could literally work towards for extinction. But the idea is simply, for now, more about explaining that if you push this button, it would be the right thing to do because it would end suffering, it would free children from dungeons, it would prevent forced existence and being forced into a life of hell. So that's the best thing we can do, the most important thing we can do, and it takes absolute priority over people having fun cringe concepts like beauty and stuff like that. You've got children screaming, and then you've got someone, watching a sunset. Obviously, the child screaming, needs the help, needs the extinction more than the person watching the sunset needs to watch that sunset. So, yeah, it's about understanding that, we need to prioritize the victims and the sufferers, and that they are infinitely more deserving of our attention and our help than the ones who are just okay, right? Because they don't need help. They don't need life. They don't need existence. It's optional. But when you're being tortured, help then isn't optional. So, yeah, we need to understand life is a bad thing, especially in this world. If we lived in heaven, then I'd probably be saying life is a great thing, right? But we live in a natural world where the vast majority of life is having a terrible time, would be better off not being born. Life was never a good thing, right? Life has never been a good thing. It's always been a bad thing, especially, throughout our history as a planet. It's just been animals being forced into existence and to desperately survive and kill each other and starve to death, burn alive in wildfires. It's just horrible stuff. So no animal realistically benefited from being born. Life has never been a good thing. It's only humans that have come along, become intelligent, that have started finding a way to make life actually tolerable. But we've forgotten about all of the animals who are suffering and burning in hell, essentially, in nature. And we've forgotten and don't care about all of the humans who are also burning in hell in their own lives of misery, whether it's depression or disability. I mean, we live in a world where, humans are happy to pump out extremely disabled children and to then make them live an entire life of that. It's absolutely horrific. I mean, it's grotesque, truly, truly grotesque. No one should have to live through that. And, their safety takes infinite priority over them having to live, right? They didn't ask to live, right? They didn't ask to be put into extreme suffering and a cruel life, a cruel body. So taking them, providing safety from that is the best thing we can do. Life is a bad thing. It will never be a good thing, realistically, unless we can create heaven. Maybe we will, but it's not a realistic thing to even think about at the minute. What is real is children screaming in nature, humans being trapped in depression and disabilities and other horrible forms of suffering, cruelty. How many, Muslim women are in, essentially dungeons right now, locked in, being tortured. It's happening all over the world. So we are the only movement fighting for the worst off victims in this world, the most oppressed, the most condemned. We are the only ones fighting for these victims. Nobody else is. Who else is saying we should make it so that no one else is forced into a life of hell ever again? Absolutely no one, right? And don't try and tell me it's antinatalists, because that antinatalism does nothing to help animals, and it does nothing to help the children of religious zealots 1,000 years from now who never adopted antinatalism and are still forcing children to suffer. So why is no one fighting for these victims? The victims of extreme suffering and being trapped in a life where you'd be better off not being born. They are obviously the worst off victims, the ones who need the most moral consideration, the most prioritization, right? We don't need it. People that are just fine, why would they need the moral priority? No, it's the ones who are suffering that need the moral priority. All right, let's get back to our queue. We've got Cora B, a potential fan, coming on up to the stage now. Hello.
No.
Oh, did you not mean to join? Fair enough. I'm going to kick you out then under the assumption that you accidentally joined. The queue is empty, so if you want to debate, discuss, ask questions, come on, slap that button like you'd slap your mother. Let's do it. Let's get you up and have a conversation. Because the queue is empty right now. We've got... No, the queue is truly empty. So yes, why is society so in support of suffering and cruelty. It's because of evolution. It made humans unable to think properly on these subjects. And that's also a topic which humans are unable to think properly on, which is ironic. But so yeah, humans are really stupid. They allow the worst things. And it's not just that humans are stupid. It's that they have extreme cognitive biases and dissonance, specific things. And it is specifically related to the subjects, the topics, right? Evolution found a way to affect to distinguish between different topics that we're thinking about and to specifically affect the way we think about those specific topics. So it did it with reproduction, with suffering, and it also, we can see that very clearly. You have people coming on here saying child abuse is a good thing, that, the 1% is more important than the 99% of sufferers, that, suffering has zero importance. These are all completely insane things to believe, and it's literally only evolution doing incredibly powerful brain damage, intentional brain damage, but, obviously with sophistication, that can cause people to be so stupid. So that's what we're dealing with. That's our problem, and that's why the world is so stupid. It's really difficult to solve that problem. But we now have humans evolving to the point where they do have empathy, they are intelligent enough to understand that suffering is a bad thing, and that we should do something about it. So that's what we're hoping for, that's what we're fighting for, is for people with enough empathy and intelligence to join the movement, to fight for what's right, to fight for the victims who need it, and to do it in a smart way with us, in a practical way, a sensible way. So that's what we're doing. We have the vehicle, we have the plan, the roadmap, we've got the ethics, the strategies. We're building the movement, developing the movement, and we just need to get more people on. And it is a realistic thing. It will work. We will be successful. We will be abolishing all suffering, and we will be causing total extinction. Again, there's literally no other solution for wild animals or animals in general. You can't even begin to improve the conditions for wild animals. Like, you can't even begin to, right? What are you going to do? Start putting out more food outside your door at night? It's not going to do anything, okay? What are you going to do? Genetically remove the ability to feel pain from every animal? Do you know how many species there are? Do you know how many different types of brain biologies there are? Different types of nervous systems? And to think that you could do that without completely, destroying the ecosystem and throwing it into absolute chaos, it's just complete ignorance. So, you can't remove the pain of animals. They will just cease to function and die anyway. They won't be able to function properly without pain. You have to have pain to be able to survive. It's literally impossible to survive without suffering, without pain, without negativity, pushing you towards the good things that you need for your body so you survive. So you can't even 1% improve the conditions and quality of life of wild animals. 99% of them get eaten alive as babies. How are you going to stop that? You just can't, right? Even if you did turn every animal into a vegetarian and you somehow had enough food for all of them so that they didn't have to eat each other, they're still going to get diseases, they're still going to get injured, they're still going to have extreme disabilities, mutations, chronic pain. They're still going to have mental problems. So essentially, the only right thing to do for them is essentially to make sure that they're not in bad conditions. So we could put them into heaven, right, or some simulation, right? But that's not a realistic solution. How the hell are you going to actually implement that? Whereas extinction is a real solution, euthanasia is a real solution. It's very easy to, cause animal extinction. We've already done it to several species of animals, right? That's hundreds of years ago with some, terrible rifles. They made several species of animals extinct, right? That's without even trying to do it on purpose. So we can absolutely do it. We can immediately do it. Let's imagine that the world agreed to extinction tomorrow. We would, essentially focus all of our resources on extinction. And, people don't really realize, but the total resources of the world, if you controlled the world and its labor, its resources, and you could say, right, I want to put everything into this, wow, it would be insane. Imagine if you controlled the world, completely, and you decided, right, I want to cure cancer at all costs. Forget making cars, forget this, forget that. We're going to put 100% of our scientists, everything, into curing cancer, right? Obviously, we would cure cancer a lot quicker than we're doing it right now. So the resources of the world are truly massive, right? We're wasting them all on rubbish like militaries and, skyscrapers and vanity projects, wars, just stupid things. But if we used all of our resources and our labor, our power properly, we could absolutely do extinction. It would be really fast, essentially. And then, what would we do after we had animal extinction on Earth? Well, we would start researching how to prevent life from developing on planets and, asteroids or any other sort of situation. We would research if life can develop in other situations. Can you find life in space, just floating in space, or does it have to be on a planet? Are there other types? Can you have wave-like types of life? Who knows, right? So all of these types of life will be suffering. That's all nature does. Every time you find life in nature, it shouldn't be there. It was forced to be there, and it's going to be in terrible conditions. It's not evolved to have a good quality of life. It's only evolved to reproduce. That's it. And so, most animals have a terrible life. Nature only cares about reproduction. It's not their friend. So, we need to fight against nature, fight against life being forced to exist, sentience being trapped in torture devices designed by evolution. And we should do this for as much of the universe as we can. If we can, if we discover that, the universe is going to come back, then we should try and find a way to stop that from happening. We should do as much as we can, just keep going with it. If we find that there's, another universe that way, we should try and reach it. All right, Wombi is joining us. Hello.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So I just had a question. I'm just interested in how you would think about this and how you'd approach it in a real situation. So, say, if hypothetical, say you're running for prime minister or something, and you get in, and this is your policy that you're running with, and it's a popular policy, and you win by 60% of the vote.
Yep.
So you've got 60% of people that are with you saying yes, we should do the extinction, and 40% have lost, but they were against it. What do you do in that situation where you're the leader and you've won, so you're in power, but there are a lot of people that are opposing it? How would that work?
That's a great question. So we want to, help animals and, research extinction and prevention of life for the rest of the universe. But let's imagine for a second that, there are no animals, there is no other universe. It's just us and the humans. That's all we have to think about. And 40% of them are against it, and they want to keep reproducing and trapping humans in unsafe conditions. We would stop them using force.
So you would actually go. It would be like an army against everybody to kill everyone that were against it. That's what you would actually do.
I mean,
really?
that's not necessarily how it's going to go down, right?
But that is unrealistic. You never have 100%, would you?
Well, you don't know.
Well, you do. You can look at every debate
really,
and
you
everything.
really can't, just predict the future like that.
Okay, so you think 100% of people might be able to be convinced of this?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for answering. I guess I understand what you think.
But if they didn't, now we would try to do the best thing for those humans. But we wouldn't give them the option. We wouldn't make it voluntary. The thing is, unless you cause total extinction, then the suffering will continue forever. So it has to be total, and it has to be
another question come up. Yeah, so there's non-optional. So how, if say 100% of people then are on board, would it be like everyone would pass out a lethal injection or something?
It would
How would
probably
it
be
go
done
about it?
for them so that they didn't have to do it themselves unless they.
Every nuke would be launched or something. I guess you want to eliminate every tree as well, maybe. Do trees
Well,
count?
you know, if we're going back to the real world instead of that
Yeah.
hypothetical scenario, then yeah, we need to have no life, no possibility of life in the universe.
But I don't actually think that would actually be possible because once you've wiped out all the people, you've launched all the nukes, or everyone's taken the
Well,
drugs.
we
so
wouldn't be using nukes, but yeah, go on.
what would you use then?
Well, you see, the last asteroid had the power of over 1 billion nukes, and it didn't cause total extinction. So it would have to be a different method, one that's more thorough, more
Okay,
scientific.
but you're in charge here, and you've got the go-ahead. Got 100% of the vote now in this situation. You're in the real world, 100%. How are you doing it? You can't make an asteroid appear because that's obviously you'll be waiting 1 million years, wouldn't you? So
Yeah,
what would you
so
do?
it's simple. If I ruled the world, we would start researching and developing ways to remove our dependence on animals, then start researching how to have total animal extinction, and then start, well, at the same time, from the beginning, we can start researching how life develops on planets and how to prevent it from developing on planets. Then we can do that for Earth and the rest of the universe, and then, beyond.
All right, so there isn't anything that you could do now. You'd have to research something. Something would have to come out of nowhere, like something.
No,
out
it
of
wouldn't really be coming out of
Spider-Man or
nowhere.
something.
The solutions that we're talking about, the adaptations, are all very low level stuff, really. Like extinction would be done by euthanasia, so that's a very sort of broad stroke that can be done. in
Yeah.
many
All right.
different
So
ways.
what I'm thinking about is that you've done all of this. You've done all the best research you could do. You killed even all the trees.
Yeah.
You've killed all the people, all the animals. Nothing's that left. Over time, when there's no humans around to even intervene, life would start again in some
Well, like
way.
I said, we need to find a way to prevent that from happening, because that's the majority of the suffering.
That's
in the world.
impossible, though.
Well, how do you know?
It's obvious. You just know.
How do you know that? How do you know?
Life at a microscopic level is in space even. So you can't get rid of that. That could come back on an asteroid. You could
But
have
if
something come back
you're
and populate
contradicting
the sea
yourself.
again.
You're contradicting yourself because you've agreed that we can cause animal extinction. So you can just maintain that essentially, right?
But there's no one there to maintain it, is what I'm saying, because everyone's dead.
Firstly, we could still have people. Secondly, we could have AI and robot instead of us. So
That
there's
would
lots
mean
of
you'd
ways
have
to
to have-
maintain it.
So it'd have to. Every single living cell on the earth would have to be killed, which is impossible.
How do you know?
Because there's life even like deep underground in the soil.
But think about it this way: there are lots of planets where there's definitely no life, right? So I don't think it's too difficult to work towards that.
Okay.
Well, why not?
Why not? Because it's impossible in
Well, you
practice,
can't
completely.
truly say that it's impossible. You're talking out your ass.
I said impossible with every piece of technology that currently exists.
Yeah, but you know what? It's also impossible to cure cancer perfectly with currently existing technology. And despite that, did you know that they're still trying to cure cancer?
Yeah, they're
So
trying.
you're
Yeah,
using an
but
incredibly illogical sort of
you-
way of
even
thinking.
I would also
You're
argue cancer
you're using
is
a
incurable.
logical way of thinking there, where you're saying that we're limited
No,
to
no.
today's technology when we're not.
No, because cancer is also incurable. What the treatment does is prolong life of people that have cancer. Cancer is inevitable in all living things that live long enough. If you
So all the
research
people trying to
cancer,
research cures to cancer, they should just stop.
if you research, no. What I've just told you, there is no cure. The cure. People
Yeah, I
saying
know,
the cure
because
to
they're
cancer is
researching
a
the
bit-
cure, right? They're
No,
researching the
no,
cure.
no. That's a bit of a basic overview of it. It's not a cure. There is no cure.
Well, I know there's no cure. They're researching one.
This is a different. No. I'm saying there isn't. It's a term that isn't really accurate.
Did you know that a lot of people have cancer, get treated for it, and then don't have cancer?
Yeah, and
So
the
shut
cancer-
the fuck up. You're
cancer-
finished. You're done. You're cooked and served. Again, when people start talking absolute gibberish and nonsense, that's when you know that they've exhausted all of their arguments against extinction, too desperate to make sense or to speak a coherent sentence at that point. So that's when we cook them and serve them. And that will happen to almost every single person that comes on this stream. You know, if you've been following my streams, you'll know that I say this all the time. There is no logical argument against extinction. There isn't one, okay? So when people try to logically argue against it, they end up making a fool of themselves, and it gets worse and worse and worse. The more desperate they get to try and find an argument against it, they just start saying absolute nonsense. And this will always happen on my streams with essentially every debate. So, you know, that is the system that we're working with here. And it always will be when we're doing debates. All right, let's bring on our next guest. We've got Top X coming on now. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I was just listening to your debate with him. I think the issue, what he was getting at, I think the issue with total extinction, let's say everybody went along with it. If you have, if photosynthesis collapses, humans will go extinct before certain life does. So the planet will become uninhabitable for us before it becomes uninhabitable for a lot of other life. I know you mentioned the meteorite. Even if we had 1,000 years, we can't duplicate the meteorite just because there's not enough uranium on Earth for us to duplicate.
Well, we wouldn't want to duplicate the asteroid because it didn't cause total extinction anyway.
Yeah. Now, the people talk about the asteroid, but that wasn't even the worst extinction. So the worst extinction was 250 million years ago. It was called the Permian extinction. Essentially, what happened was you had extreme global warming. So it goes back to what I just mentioned. The planet became uninhabitable for most life. If you and me were teleported to that period, we wouldn't survive. We can't breathe the air.
Yeah.
But there was still life. There was still life on Earth. There were even proto-mammals. So there were some mammals that could survive that, but we couldn't.
Life is very resilient. It really does adapt very well to the environment it's in. It's quite tricky like that.
And I think if worse comes to push, the worst part would be, there's even life, hundreds of feet underground in rocks. There's fungus. I just think it's impossible. But we have to normalize suffering.
But think of it this way. We've only had the internet for 30 years, right? Imagine what sort of technology we'll have, 100 million years from now.
If we make it to 100 million years.
Well, why wouldn't we?
If you look at the track record for living things, there's been a lot of successful animals. There's been some that have had more individuals than we have people right now.
Yeah, but this is different. Humans actually have intelligence, meaning that we have, amazing things that we can do that animals can't. So we can live on other planets. We can live in space. We can change our environment, adapt to it, create technology to change it.
I think
it's quite possible that we will, still be here 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now. And, even 200 years from now, the technology that we have is going to be, so ridiculously more advanced than what we have now that, it really is completely illogical to say that extinction is impossible. Again, all the people saying that are basing it on today's technology. Even that other guy saying, oh, well, yeah, we haven't cured cancer yet, so, we'll never get the cure. It's a really illogical, narrow-minded, sort of way of seeing the world where it's like, oh, it can never change. This is it. And it always will be.
Have you heard of the scientific bottleneck?
No.
So it's all speculation, but they think there's limits to science. And a lot of people here, I think because of Hollywood, they think science can do everything. Almost like magic.
You just have to look around to see that science can do some pretty amazing things.
It can do amazing things, but it's not magic. There's certain things that science can't do.
The famous phrase, technology looks like magic to people that have never seen it before, right?
No, but I'll give you an example. So we just talked about, I just mentioned Hollywood, like Jurassic Park. You know, they clone dinosaurs. That's impossible. You know, that's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because DNA doesn't last 1 million years. So it definitely doesn't last 66 million years. So, you know, there's certain limits. But that's all I got for you, man.
No worries. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, but you know, they thought science was limited 300 years ago, 400 years ago. It's just been a constant story of it changing and all of the doubters being proved wrong over and over again. You know, we've had the internet for 30 years, for Christ's sake. Imagine 30 years, you know, with basic technology. 1,000 years from now, good God. Come on, you know, we've had the internet for 30 years. Think 1,000 years from now, it's going to be a different world. You know, everything we know now will be just completely meaningless. Like, insanely meaningless. We'll probably have teleportation and all sorts of crazy stuff. You know, the idea that we should be restraining ourselves to today's technology in our thinking, it's not useful, and it's not a healthy way to plan for the future either. You know, we have to understand that the world will get better, technology and science will get better, and we have to adapt our thinking based on it. But even if science and technology was to never improve drastically, extinction would still be possible. Okay, it's not difficult technology. Euthanasia is not complicated. Okay, gas is not complicated. And again, if we had the entire world focusing on doing this, you can bet your ass we would be able to accomplish it. All right, the queue is currently empty, so slap that button to join the queue to join. Let's get you up on the stage. Just picture your mother's face and slap that button. Let's get you in the queue. Let's get you on the stage. Let's have a debate. Let's hear your questions. Let's have a discussion, a conversation. You love it, Shroom. You love it. All right. So we need to work towards a moral world and an ethical world. We've always been an animalistic, cruel, terrible world, right? You know, we're run by dictators still. You know, it's 2026 and we're still run by dictators. It's a joke, right? Why are we having such a ridiculously poor world, a clown world, okay? It's because we're trapped by our human nature, by what evolution did to us. It truly made us really, really stupid, okay? You only have to look at the world to see that this is true. It's run by dictators. It's run by the alt-right, the right wing, you know, the authoritarian ones who are racist. It's run by the racists, right? The world is run by racist people who discriminate, selfish people. It's run by the ones that want to enjoy power, that want to enjoy abusing power and corruption. So, you know, we live in a terrible world and a terrible society. The idea that our society and our culture, our species, has any sort of morality is a complete joke. And anyone who believes that is an idiot. To think that the status quo is somehow a good thing, that it's working for anyone, that we shouldn't challenge it or change it, you truly have to have been brainwashed by Elon Musk. And it's sad that he can do that to you, really, right? It's so sad that we have a world where people think it's smart to lick the boots of billionaires, you know, hoping that a gold coin will trickle down. So people allow the worst things to happen. They don't get involved. No one is fighting to change this world. It's being run by sadistic pedophiles. And yet no one is doing activism. That's what I'm doing. I'm here to try and change the world, to get involved in running the world. That's what we should all be doing. If you don't get involved in running the world and trying to understand what's right and wrong for it, then the world will never be good. It will always be run by people who just want to abuse it and to abuse you. So we have to fight for control of the world. If we don't control the world, it's going to be run by, you know, just idiots, you know, thieves and criminals. So that's what is currently happening. And it may seem unsolvable, like we can never sort this out, but we can. We have to. And we have evolved as a species now to the point where we can do better. We understand that we can do better. We have an obviously terrible world. The pro-extinction movement is sort of the first step to making it better. I mean, yes, it's more than just extinction. Maybe we should expand the name of the movement, but we are the ones working towards a perfect world with perfect fairness for humans. You know, who else is going to run the world, right? Who else is going to run it in a fair way that understands that suffering is bad and that exploitation is bad, right? We need to work towards a perfect world, a fair world. But most people don't like that idea. They don't like the idea of fairness because it's a threat to them, essentially. They know that in the current system of exploitation and unfairness, that they're going to be safe, that they can exploit the system enough to be okay. But that's cruel, right? And it's selfish, and we need to work towards a world that's fair for everyone. So, you know, most of society, the vast majority of humans right now, they support the meat industry. They support animal abuse. And, you know, even that other guest that came on, they say, oh, it's good to eat meat. It's good to eat animals. You know, it's good to abuse them. Like, on what planet, right? It just doesn't even make sense. So we have a mentality of, yeah, exploit, abuse, you know, cause harm, cause suffering. Yeah, do it. Don't, you know, go away from fairness, prevent fairness. It's so insanely upside down right now, the world, how people see it and who's running it. Our principles, our morality is basically as upside down as it possibly could be. So, yeah, that's why we need to change it, and we are the ones fighting to change it. If you can point out an organization or a movement that has any sort of sensible plan for the world, I'd love to see it, and I would fight for it, right? I have looked for it. It doesn't exist. Nobody else is saying we need a fair world, let's actually work for it. No one, right? Everyone is saying we should have an unfair world, a discriminatory world, right? One with victims, one with sufferers. No. So there will never be a fair world as long as it's causing extreme suffering, right? Now, people are complaining that I'm monologuing, and I'm very aware of how much people don't like that. But there is no one in the queue right now. I want to do some debates. I want to have some conversations, but, you know, who am I going to do it with? So instead of complaining, join the queue yourself. Be the change that you want to see. Let's have you come up and debate. Don't just type in the chat. So Alex is suffering right now in the chat because he knows that he can't debate against extinction, and he's very confused about it. It must feel bad to be in that situation. I do feel bad for him. Right, again, the queue is completely empty. As soon as someone hits that queue button to come up and debate me, I will bring them up as soon as they do. But in the meantime, yeah, we're going to go with the comments because, you know, no one has the balls to debate, apparently. All right, let's see. Do we have any good questions? Chat, give us your questions now. Oh, it's too late. It's too late. Someone's joined the queue. All right. Hello, how's it going?
What's up, man?
Yeah,
How
how's
you
it going?
doing?
Do you have any questions?
Going good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, great, man. Yeah, so so how does your yeah, I might have joined late, I'm not sure, but I'd like to know, how does your plan work? Can you just give me a rundown of what your idea for this is?
So we grow the movement until we have enough people to actually change the world, make it in favor of abolishing suffering. Then we work towards removing our dependence on animals and then cause animal extinction, total animal extinction on Earth. Then we start researching how to prevent life from developing on planets. We do it for Earth and we do it for the rest of the universe if we can. And yeah, it's just about us doing as much as we can to prevent suffering.
So, okay, so real quick, do we at some point just collectively get together and off ourselves, or is that just something that happens organically over time when we stop reproducing?
Yeah, it would be done for us. So, we wouldn't be asking people to do it to themselves. That would be cruel.
So we would do it to each other, or
No, it would be done sort of like by the authority, basically.
which authority are we talking about? We're
Right.
going to trust what authority to destroy us all?
Yeah, so we need to change the world, make it anti-suffering, which is the right thing to do. And so, yeah, we need an authority and organized way to carry out extinction. So, yeah, there's an authority now in the world, and there would be then.
Okay, so can I give you my my worldview and philosophy on life in general?
I'd rather you didn't. Let's try and stick to like the logic.
That's kind of the point, right? It's the counter argument. My worldview is the counter argument to what you're proposing. I believe that life is the universe's. It's the whole point of the universe's existence, right? And you have to have suffering. Just like you have to have dark, right? You have to have cold to know, like, like the universe operates on polarity, it's all.
But if the
male,
universe
female.
wants to torture children, then we should stop it.
I don't think so, no, because
Why?
every single one of those experiences
Yeah.
results in something, right?
Like
Whether
what?
it be good or bad. Like, you've never read a book or
But
watched
something
a movie.
resulting in something doesn't mean it's necessarily, good.
But it's necessary, right? The
Why?
universe
Why?
does
Necessary
exactly,
for what? Necessary for
It's
who?
necessary
You
for
can have to do better than
experience.
that.
It's necessary for the experience, right? Because
What
you
does that
cannot.
mean? What do you mean, the experience?
I mean, for the universe to experience itself, if it's all one thing, right, and we're all one
But
consciousness,
I feel like I'm my own separate
separated
being,
by
right?
ego.
So I feel like I'm my own separate being. I'm an individual, and
not, though.
I believe
You're
you're an
not.
individual.
You
So-
think that because of the identity that you form from the short little life that you've lived here, but the truth is, you're not. You're the same
But
thing that.
but you don't know that, right?
I do know that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. There is no new thing
let
under
me
the
get this straight.
sun.
So this position of yours, it allows child abuse, right?
It's just the truth, man, and it allows
So you
everything. It
support
allows
child abuse?
experience in general because
So
there
you
is
support
no
child
such
abuse?
thing. I support whatever the universe is doing.
So if
Whatever the
If
universe.
the universe is
So
raping
listen,
children, you support that.
Let me ask you this: when
So you would support
have-
anything.
when you
But you would support anything.
I would support anything the universe does.
So you would support any
if you
amount of
read-
child abuse.
Hey, let me ask you this: so if an
Wait,
author
let me
writes
just
a
let's
book,
see if this holds up what you're saying. So you would support unlimited child abuse.
no, I don't support. It's not up to me. It's not up to me because
Who's it up to? Who's it up to?
the universe.
So when a police
Whatever is
officer
happening, whatever is going
when a police
on,
officer
right?
is doing their job, or someone else is doing their
I
job,
think
I'll
all
say
this
stop.
stuff is
It's not up to you. It's up
anecdotal,
to the universe, right?
It's all anecdotal and like
So
everything.
let me
you're
ask you a
talking
question.
about-
If a pedophile is going to kidnap a child, you would say, "Yeah, go on and do it." It's the universe. I'm
That's
not going
not
to
that,
stop
okay,
the
but
universe.
here's the thing that
That's
is
it. You're
not
finished. You are done. You're cooked. Okay, queue is still empty. If you want to come up and do better than the last guy, then now's your chance. If you really think you can avoid being cooked and served, then let's hear it. I would love to get cooked myself for once. I'm getting a bit cold over here. So come and cook me. Come and join. Slap that button like you'd slap Alex. And, slap it hard. Really hard. And come and debate. All right, let's check the queue. We've got bonus kudos coming up, who's going to thrash me and cook me. Let's hear it.
James, how we are?
Yeah, good.
How's everybody's favourite genocidal maniac?
It's not about genocide.
Well, all right, but
Genocide will
fair,
continue without extinction if we don't do it.
well, the way I see it, so you know we oppose each other. We know we've got opposite beliefs on this. But the way I see it is, the more followers you get for your movement, I think the more opposition there's going to be. And I think fair is fair. There's probably more opposition than there are support.
There's
I'm
been lots of
hoping that
movements throughout history, right? And, they didn't
Yeah,
give
but
up just because of that.
But there's still going to be opposition to the support of your movement. There's going to be opposition. So the more
But every
support,
movement's had that.
the more opposition you're going to get.
Every movement's had that.
That's what I mean. But I'm hoping that for me, because your pessimism about life is helping me to appreciate life even more. And I think the more people that oppose your movement, I think that I'm hoping that they can also appreciate life as well.
That would be really nice for them, wouldn't it?
So
eh?
thank you for that, James. Thanks, Jack. That's really nice. So yeah.
Well, I have to say, I'm not feeling very cooked. I'm feeling a bit undercooked, actually.
I don't need to cut you, James. I'm appreciating you for helping me to appreciate life with your pessimism and negativity. And I do believe, I think it's fair to say there's more people that oppose your movement than support it. So I think.
But you know, we do live in a stupid world, right? Do you really want to be a sheep? Do you want to be a part of the majority?
Well, I don't want to be a sheep to your movement, put it that way. But like I say, I think hopefully one day, I'm hoping this movement fails completely. Surely it's going to fail completely.
Yeah, well, no, we're never going to stop fighting for the abolition of suffering, right?
I'm hoping
extinction will never stop being the only solution for animals and sufferers and humans in all life. It will, you know, without it, there will always be victims. And so we will fight for those victims always.
Well, I'm hoping that one day you can look back on this, and even though, maybe even if you didn't mean to, even if it inadvertently helped a lot of people to appreciate life, like you've helped me appreciate life, I'm hoping you can laugh and feel good about yourself.
Well, thank you for coming on. I feel raw. I feel like I'm still in the freezer. I need defrosting. I need a microwave. I need someone that can actually debate me. Come and cook me. I need serving. So, yeah, let's get some debates on. Let's hear your logic, your counter-arguments. Should we focus on abolishing all suffering, or should we allow suffering? Should we ever allow suffering? Do you think there's some sort of ratio of, you know, this number of children getting tortured justifies this much pleasure? Do you think that infinite children can get tortured, like the guy 2 guests ago? You know, what's your position on suffering? Do you have a zero tolerance policy on it, like we do at the pro-extinction movement? Or do you think it's just fine? Do you think it doesn't matter if animals get tortured? It doesn't matter if humans get tortured? You know, some people just don't care, right? They kind of see like, you know, if we can help them, only if it's convenient, right? You know, let's not go too far out of our way. But as extinctionists, we care fully about all life, every person, every animal, and all potential life as well. So to care fully about them means that you want the best for them, and you care fully if the best for them isn't happening. So the thing is, you know, there's too many animals out there to just go running after each and every one of them, trying to help them. So the only way to be empathetic and to help in a sensible way is to actually do it through organized activism, to fight for a system that works, okay? You know, if the world is run by dictators, it's always going to be a terrible world. You know, until you fix that, it's always going to be bad. So you have to fight for a good system, a system that works, a world that works, you know, an organization that works. Doing things as individuals will never help. It will never achieve anything. So Cora is asking, how does this activism look like? So we're growing the movement until we have enough people to be successful, to change the world, and to make it against suffering. You know, it could take 1 million people, 10 million people. We don't know. But we should grow the movement by getting the message out there. The best way to grow the movement is to make videos. You know, you can get thousands of people watching your message. Make videos explaining that, you know, we have a solution now, that the suffering is unacceptable. We can do something about it. We just have to do organized activism. It's the only way that we can fight the power, fight the system. We can't do that as individuals, just screaming out for extinction. So the solution is to grow the movement, ask people to join, you know, appeal to them, you know, say, you have to join us. It's the only way. We have to come together, pull our resources together, pull our power together, be organized, join the movement. So that's the only way to do it. And making videos is the best way. You can get thousands, hundreds of thousands of views, get lots of people to join the movement. And that is what our activists are doing. We have dozens of activists now making videos, and the best thing that they can do, the best way forward for them, is essentially think of it like this. You're trying to work towards growing your channel as big as possible. Imagine you have 100,000 followers on your extinction channel, a couple years from now after you've really worked on it. You're going to have you're going to help the movement loads with that. If you get to 100,000 followers, you've probably had loads of people join the movement, seeing your videos. You've grown the presence online of the movement. It's the best thing that we can do, essentially, is grow the movement, grow the message as much as we can. And social media is basically the best way to do that. So that's what I'm doing, heading towards 100,000 followers if I can, and beyond. And if we all do that, then we'll all do it in the best way we can, right? Again, you go out onto the street and shout for extinction, it's not going to do anything. You start making videos, it's not going to do anything unless you're asking people to join, okay? That's the only part that solves the problem. If you're not asking people to join the movement, then there is no solution. So we have to get people together, to work together. And as we start growing and getting more resources and more people, we'll have more options, more ability to work on bigger projects, more serious projects. And it might get to the point where we have 100 million people in the movement and we have to organize a revolution. Okay, that might happen. There may be other ways that it goes down. We may be able to take power through politics and through peaceful methods. So we're fighting for, to do the best that we can. All of the different options are on the table right now. We can't rule out any options, otherwise we'd be letting the victims down. Now, we want to do it in the best way we can, the most peaceful way we can. But regardless of how it goes down, whether it's peaceful or not, the only thing that we can do that's important and useful now is to get more people into the movement so that we have more ability to actually be successful. Again, we're prioritizing doing it the most peaceful way possible. Our activism is peaceful and lawful. There's no need to do anything that would get you arrested. We're against that. We don't want violence or terrorism or anything like that. And people are always saying, why don't you just kill yourself? That will get loads of people to join your movement. Well, firstly, no, it wouldn't. And secondly, even if it did, it would get the wrong type of person to join the movement. We don't want people who are suicidal or who think that suicide is going to actually cause extinction. That's ridiculous. It's unrealistic. All right, so again, the queue is still empty. No, it's actually empty. I often say it's empty when there's a few trolls in, but we've run out of trolls as well. So we really need someone to be heroic, step up, join the stage, let's have a debate. Let's hear your logic on this. Let's hear your argument. Should we abolish all suffering or not? Extinctionism is about people that understand that life is a bad thing and that we should do something about it, and that we should prevent suffering, that it's too terrible to allow, that it's not fair, it's wrong. So as long as life exists, there will always be the lucky and the unlucky. For animals, there are no lucky ones. There's no such thing as a good life for animals, so they all have bad lives. But for humans, there's always going to be the lucky and the unlucky, but it's unfair. And people think that this unfairness is somehow okay just because it's nature, right? Nature put us in this situation because it doesn't understand what it's doing. It's just a force of nature. And so here we are. Here is our human society. And because we've been put here by nature, we somehow think that, well, that's just the way it's always been. So, that's fine. No, it's really not fine. And I think people are just so trapped in their lives of selfishness that they can't see outside of it, right? They're so caught up in their own problems, their own greed, their own desire for better conditions, that they just can't care about others, right? They care about themselves too much. There's too much about themselves and their own needs that they need to fulfill. They can't care about others properly because of it. Extinctionists, on the other hand, are people that care about, that don't have that problem, that understand that the needs of other people are outweigh our own, right? So that we literally care about others more than we care about ourselves, in a sense, because they need it more than we do. So it's about who needs the help the most. You know, should I be selfish, or should I help the ones that actually need the help? Should I, be selfless and help them? So in that sense, extinctionists are selfless people. Now, we still have selfishness, don't get me wrong, but it's far less than other people, okay? It's like most people are dominated by selfishness, and the empathy is like takes a massive backseat, it's tiny. We're kind of the opposite. Ghost is asking, James, how would you go about total extinction? We would have total animal extinction on Earth with euthanasia, euthanize them. We would remove our dependence on them so that we can have like a vegan world. We can still have food with no animals, the robots and stuff, machinery, that can be making the food. 1,000 years from now, that's probably what's going to happen anyway. Even if we didn't have an extinctionist movement, the world would probably trend towards veganism anyway, I think. But, the problem is that the wild animals are still going to suffer terribly. The farm animals are still a tiny drop in the ocean of the population on the planet. Wild animals are over 99%. Humans, farm animals, just forget about them. They're nothing compared to wild animals. So we need to euthanize them, prevent them from being forced to exist. It's the only way, total extinction. And then research how life develops on planets and how we can prevent it developing on Earth and other planets. So while we prevent life for other planets, then we can start looking at, other stuff like, are there other universes? Is this universe ever going to come back? Is it going to, as you all know, the universe is expanding. Some of the theories out there are that it's going to contract at the end of the life cycle of the universe, hundreds of billions of years, trillions of years, it just keeps going, and then eventually it comes back and then starts again. That's a possibility. We have no idea if that's actually true. But if it did happen, then it would obviously restart the cycle of suffering, life developing on planets. So, that's one thing that, we want to look into. You could say that, it's our moral obligation to understand as much about the universe and reality as possible. So it's about using science to understand the limits of science for a good reason. Right now, we do it for money. We do it for capitalism. Why is any scientist doing their job? It's for the money. It's for the recognition, the fame, the comfort, the luxury. Sure, there's a few of them doing it for passion, but even the ones doing it for passion, they're doing it out of selfish passion, interest, curiosity. They're not doing it for moral obligation because there's an ocean of animals suffering out there relying on us. So fighting for total extinction, fighting for all life, caring about every single life that does exist and may ever exist, potential life, all different species, that leads to extinctionism. Caring about this life leads to you caring that it doesn't suffer. Caring about life makes you say, wow, they should never have to suffer. They should never be in danger of being trapped in a life of hell. And that danger outweighs everything else, right? You should never put someone in a situation that they didn't ask for, where they're in danger of being in a life of hell, trapped in extreme misery, right? That's wrong. And, the life that they may get, it doesn't make up for it, and it's wrong, right? So life doesn't make up for the suffering. Survival, happiness doesn't make up for the torture that children suffer and experience. And the risk also always outweighs the benefits of life. So even for normal people with a normal life, they're doing okay. The thing is that if we truly understood all of the dangers that we were in, and the potential dangers that we're in, again, you could be paralyzed tomorrow, etc., brain damage tomorrow, in chronic pain for the rest of your life tomorrow. If we were actually able to understand these dangers properly and to think about them properly, then we would overwhelmingly not want to live. And, most people would probably disagree with that, but actually it is true. If you truly understood right now all of the dangers that you're in, you would be probably terrified and panicking about it and say, wow, I've got to get out of this world. But we don't do that because evolution prevented us from doing it, prevented us from understanding danger, understanding the danger of suffering that we're in. And that's why, for that exact same reason is why, animals will put their children into extreme danger where the vast majority get tortured to death, eaten alive as babies. Without a care in the world for what happens to them, they'll reproduce anyway. And humans do the same. The idea that human parents are good parents is honestly a cringe idea to begin with. How many parents out there are doing even a vaguely good job? Like, it's just kind of common knowledge that human parents are cringe and pathetic and terrible. So, yeah, the idea that there's any sort of intelligence to what we're doing is just a joke. Right, I really want to get some debates going. I really want to have a conversation, but the queue is just extremely empty today. So please join, please debate. Let's, the audience is begging for this. Let's hear your ideas. Let's hear your spicy topics. Oh man, I keep getting restricted by TikTok today for some reason. For repeatedly lacking sustained engagement. Well, go away, TikTok. I got 40 people watching me. If they want to watch, then shut the fuck up and let them watch. Don't restrict me because you're not sure if they're having fun. They're here because they're having an okay time. Right. Again, yeah, really desperate to get some debates going, but no one is seeming to be in the mood for it. So let's go back to the comments in the chat. Are you for universal euthanasia anytime we want? No, absolutely not. So, most people would think that we are for it, but no. If every human went extinct or euthanized themselves, then there'd be no help for animals. So there has to be some control, even just on that basis, for letting humans stay alive or not. And also, just on the basis of depression and getting treatment, it probably makes more sense to not let people just walk into a euthanasia booth, right? Now, yeah, no, if humanity was no longer necessary and it got to the point where, the prevention of animal suffering didn't depend on humanity, or human extinction didn't depend on humanity, because it might depend on AI instead of humans. It might depend on humans, humans might have to do it. If there was no need, then yes, we would support euthanasia at any time. The choice to just leave whenever you want, we would support that. But all of these questions of would you do this, would you do that, they don't exist in a moral vacuum. They exist within the bigger picture. And, what matters isn't, most people have sort of a concept of, oh, we're just in this world and we do whatever we want. What's the rule on this? What's the rule on that? But when you're considering the entire world and the bigger picture, it's not as simple as, can I do this? Can I do that? It's, what is necessary for the greater good? What is necessary for the victims? What is necessary for the mission, essentially? So that's how our ethics, morality has to, be understood. It's through what's necessary. We don't live in a world of zero moral obligation where we can do whatever we want, right? And it's just a case of don't do this, don't do that. No, we live in a world where there are infinite victims of extreme suffering depending on us to help them, to prevent them being forced into cruelty. So, that moral obligation, that essentially dominates everything. And, that is what extinctionists will tie everything to with their logic most of the time. Okay, I don't know what you guys would think. Should I just start randomly spamming people to invite them? Because no one is requesting to join the stage. Can you explain how you reach the goal from phase 1 to end game? Oh man, I've already done this like 5 times today. So we have to grow the movement till we have enough people. Then we start doing animal extinction while removing our dependence on animals. Work towards having no animals on Earth, but still being able to live on Earth. That's going to need machines to produce our food instead of animals producing our food and stuff like that. And then we should start researching how life develops on planets and how to prevent it from developing on planets. Do this for Earth, do this for as much of the universe as we can, and work towards understanding the universe and the limits of what we can do to prevent suffering and to prevent life. James, does your significant other support your views? No, absolutely not, unfortunately. Yeah, let's get some more questions, guys. If you've got questions, let's put them in the chat. Let's get through them. If life continues despite your aspiration, would you prefer more peace or find it irrelevant? Well, people are always asking, what if life comes back? What if it continues? Well, that's kind of the main focus of our mission, is to prevent it from coming back, prevent it from ever developing anywhere ever again. So it's, people ask that as if we've never thought about that, but that's the main focus of our mission. And even if somehow we failed, or, life exists on the far end of the universe and we can't reach it, it's still the right thing to do to prevent as much as we can. Right? We can definitely do Earth, and, maybe beyond that a little bit, who knows? We could definitely do Earth. So we should do that and then just do as much as we can beyond that. All right, checking more comments in the chat. The limitations to preventing suffering are endless. Yeah, there's a lot of challenges, but it wouldn't be fun if it was too easy. I can't prevent it. You can't reach the whole universe. Well, you don't know that, right? You don't know that. Again, we've had internet for 30 years. The idea that we can make claims about what's possible and what's not possible is a bit arrogant, really. So, the ultimate position is to have an open mind, to understand that science and technology is going to improve ridiculously drastically. That, a million years from now, we will probably have magic, basically, or close to. All right. How do we stop mindless third world reproduction? We don't. We need more humans. We need humanity to continue for a long, long time, thousands of years, while it helps other life first, before having human extinction. What we should do for the third world, though, is improve their conditions. So if we controlled the world tomorrow, what would we do? What would the world look like? We would work towards a perfect world for humanity. Now, yeah, obviously we'd get, do extinction and everything, but for the humans and their quality of life, we would work towards, world peace, improving laws, improving the systems, improving the, government and, control of people, basically, to give them the best lives possible, because that's not what they're getting right now. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if we'd, kick every billionaire out of their house necessarily, or, kick, people with $1 million out of their house. We'd want stability ideally, but there would need to be a distribution of resources. We would need to start working towards a fairer world very quickly, right? So yes, the billionaires would lose their money immediately. They would lose all of their fortunes. They'd keep some of it. Yeah, why not? But, they don't need 300 billion, right? If they can keep, a few mansions and stuff and, a little bit of this and that, why not? Okay, but we can take away 99% of their stuff and start actually doing the right thing for the world and for humanity. Yeah. Now, I don't know if we would immediately, have mass immigration and you can just live wherever you want. There'd probably have to be a bit of a transition. The priority would be stability for civilization, but not so much that it just never changes and that, there's still inequality. It would have to be a drastic change, a dramatic change. Cora is asking, are you straight or gay? I'm straight. Religion is inhibiting the movement. Yeah, religion is one of the biggest problems, but the thing is that it's not religion, right? Religion itself isn't the enemy. The reason religion exists is because people have low levels of intelligence. So, if they didn't have that problem, they wouldn't have the religion. The religion exists because of that, and only because of that. Do you plan to have kids? Potentially, yeah. As extinctionists, we believe in reproduction, And seeing as there's so few of us who have the genetics to agree with extinction, enough empathy to care about abolishing suffering, it seems very necessary for us to reproduce and to get our superior genetics out there. All right, let's get some more questions from the chat. So you want to bet on machines that will build in millions of years? No, I mean, we can already do animal extinction on Earth. So, that could, if I ruled the world, that could start immediately. So it doesn't have to take millions of years. And, we have millions of years to do as much as we want for extinction, as much as we can. And, just imagine that, maybe humanity will only last for another 1,000 years, and it can then pass the job on to AI and robots who can just do it for billions of years. So that's a strong possibility, a solid option, and we shouldn't just give up like that. All right, the queue is still empty. Let's get some debates going. Let's say it again. Please join if you're interested in debating. More questions from the chat. Let's have a look. How would you stop the reproduction with euthanasia? So it wouldn't be optional, wouldn't be voluntary, and we wouldn't be asking people to do themselves in. We would just carry out euthanasia. Because the thing is, people say, what if I just agree to stop having kids? Well, extinction isn't about not having kids, it's about not having life, not having the danger of being alive. And it's also about understanding that both animals and humans are unable to make responsible decisions for their own safety and the safety of others due to their disability from evolution and nature. So, just because they might want to keep living doesn't mean that it's the right thing for them. The safety is the right thing for them. And again, if they were able to think rationally, then they would agree with that and support prioritize their own safety. On the understanding that, extreme dangers are too terrible to allow for yourself just so that you can have a bit of fun. I don't want to be in extreme danger, right? I don't want extreme danger to happen to me, to befall me. I don't want to be paralyzed tomorrow. I don't want to have brain damage tomorrow, be trapped in a life of chronic pain and mental disability or something like that. I'm absolutely more worried about that happening than, just getting to have a bit of shallow fun, in this crap world, basically. So, if you understand suffering and the dangers in this world properly, which again, most people don't because they're not allowed to by their nature, then you would absolutely be like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. I'm in horrific danger. This danger is too terrible. Get me out of here, basically. But again, people put their kids in lives of hell. They put themselves in lives of hell, right? And they wouldn't do that if evolution hadn't tricked them into it, brain damaged them into it. It's not rational. Well, maybe I should end the stream because we're really not getting any debates today, unfortunately. Nobody wants to join. I'm starting to wonder if the 34 people in the stream right now are just fans, just followers. We need some spice. We need some disagreeers, some debaters. We agree. Oh, that's good to hear, Shay Tom. Thank you for following the channel. Yeah. So if you want to start doing activism, then me and the rest of the team, there's lots of us, will help you. And the best way to start is to do videos on TikTok. Most people start by doing the text and music videos, which means you don't even have to show your face or your own voice. You can still make videos and put them on TikTok. It's super easy. There's a way to do it when you create a video on TikTok. You just go to text and music. And you can use, famous songs, new songs, and you can put out a great message. And that's what most of our activists are doing every day. We have dozens of people doing that. On Instagram as well, YouTube, other platforms. But TikTok seems to be the most successful platform, so that's where we're focusing our activists on. And yeah, again, everyone's starting out with the easy way, making a few text and music videos saying, this world is too terrible, no one deserves to be forced to exist here. Join the pro-extinction movement at proextinction.com. It's simple stuff like that to get the message out there and get more people to join the movement so that we can get enough to eventually carry out total extinction. So it's obviously a lot better to go on camera, to use your real voice and face. You get more views. You can do more interesting things and different ideas than simply text and music. But you can work your way up to that. You could do that eventually after you get familiar with the text videos. So if you want to start doing this, we'll help you. You just need to create a TikTok page. Choose a good name, a good profile picture, and then just start putting them out there. We'll get you into our TikTok group chat, and you can share your videos, and we'll like them and comment on them, boost you a little bit, and give you advice and feedback on your activism. And then, you can start working towards other ideas, other things. I created the website, I do a podcast. There's lots of ways to help the movement, to grow the movement. One way, for example, is to reach out to people and invite them to debate me. Say, look, our movement does debates on this. Do you want to debate us? I challenge you to a debate. Come and debate James. I'll set it up. So you can do that. You can reach out to people, help us organize debates, get some more attention. Think about it. If you get someone with a big channel, millions of followers to do a debate, that would be huge for the movement. That would be really helpful. We'd probably get loads of views and attention out of it, and potentially new people joining the movement. Okay, yeah, I'm probably going to call it for there, guys. Shame that nobody's joining to debate, but yeah, I'll be streaming tomorrow. Yeah, Cora, maybe tomorrow there'll be more people. In the meantime, everyone, join our Discord, join our WhatsApp. The links are at the bottom of the page on proextinction.com. There's a clickable link to the website on my profile, so you don't even have to type it in. Come and join the Discord and WhatsApp, talk to us, start doing activism with us. If you're timid to start doing activism, it's really easy. Making the text and music videos on TikTok takes like 1 minute, right? You could do that once a day, and bam, you've started doing activism, and you'll get warmed up. You'll see it's not that bad. 1 minute a day to make a text video on TikTok, it really is as quick as that. You just type in a little message and you hit send. So everyone can do that, and it's a good way to get started and to kind of warm you up to do even more interesting things, bigger things for the movement. So yeah, thanks for joining, everyone. Peace out. If you want to talk to me, message me on TikTok, message us on Discord or WhatsApp. And yeah, we'll see